Welcome, everyone. I'm going to give you a minute to have everyone get in the session here, and then we'll get started. So welcome. This is our 41st annual conference here at Seed Savers Exchange. It's the second year we've done it virtually, and we are so glad you're here. We have had a great lineup of sessions today. So many interesting and inspiring presenters. My name is Jeanine Scheffert. I am the Education and Engagement Manager here at Seed Savers Exchange, and you are tuning in now to this evening's collaborative keynote presentation, the Heirloom Collard Project. I am excited to introduce these folks to you. Here with us, we have Ira Wallace, Chris Smith, Melissa DeSa, and Seed Savers Exchange Seed Bank Manager Norah Hummel. We are going to get to hear about this great Heirloom Collard Project, and I am just going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thanks, Jeanine. First, we're going to hear from Ira. She's going to give us a little bit of background about how this project started.
Hi, I'm Ira Wallace with Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. And back in 2015, one of the authors of, there it is, Collards, A Southern Tradition from Seed to Table. And that book is sort of the beginning of this Heirloom Collard Project. One of the authors, Ed Davis, contacted me in my role of organizing programs for the Heritage Harvest Festival at Monticello, and he shared a copy of this book with me. And you know, my grandmother grew collards. They were just such a thing in my growing up. I never knew there were so many varieties. This is actually the slide. This is one of the things that really got me going. I had liked the idea and reading about these heirloom stewards and reading about all these varieties they'd collected. Well, it happened that one of the unofficial people in this project of collecting slides had been Mark Farnham at the USDA. He's was a brassica breeder there in Charleston, and he had going a full trial of 60 of the varieties from the Davis Morgan collection. And I came upon it. It was the first time I saw one of those trials that had the color coding so you could match the color to it as well. Anyway, next slide. And in addition to getting information about the varieties and some of the stories that went with them, he also shared with me a few pictures, and then later Ed Davis did too, of the stewards. And this was the beginning to notice one thing about all the stewards. They were excited, they loved collards, and they were older than I am, and I'm no spring chicken. So that was something. And that was my, the MacArthur Walter and his purple collards was the first time that I realized that there were all these varieties in the southern tier, like in Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama, that are purple and variations on it. Next slide. And when I was there with Mark, I saw so many of the other varieties. Well, oh, here's the collard jack. Collard jack is important because it's sort of tied up with this, and it was actually the first variety from the Davis Morgan collection that Southern Exposure shared with the public, because we went there and the folks at the Collard Shack, just like they had been generous in giving seeds, they sold us like a quart jar of the yellow cabbage collard, which is really a special one in North Carolina. You want to go to the next slide? We can look at them. And their variety actually has another one hidden in there, about 10% of the seeds. And even though we've been selecting away from it, still 5% of it are what they call henpecked, because the edge of the leaves are a little bit fringy. Uh, and the Collard Jack was unusual because they don't sell by mail even now. You have to go there if you want to get some of those seeds. Go to the next. There's a real local community thing. Here's some more. I told you I got taken with the purple ones when I first saw the trial. Let's see the next one. And it was just amazing. And this is one of the blooming white collard was one of the things that really let you see that there's hidden diversity in these land races that you don't see. Because this time when we were there, it was about 3 to 4 weeks before the rest of the collard would start to bloom. And this variety that had been collected along the Florida, Georgia border bloomed early. And we think it was maybe selected for that because people who are in Florida have trouble saving seeds of collards. Melissa will tell you that. Yeah, so we realized when you do these trials, you learn more than just the obvious characteristics of how they're gone. Well, anyway, after I was there with Mark, I brought photos and notes and stuff to share with Tor, who Savers Exchange, and we have been talking at a couple of winter conferences about these collards. And we decided that we were going to try to go for it and present something to Seed Savers Exchange so that he could see if they would be willing to receive the seeds from the USDA. And
Ira, I think we've lost your audio there. Is anyone else hearing Ira right now? So Ira, if you can hear me, I know we have a backup plan of having you call in with your phone. I think it might be time to operate plan B there.
I'm only on my phone now. And the next picture shows the sorority sisters, Lorraine Mortiz and Elmer Kesey, who was a master gardener. And how I met them is I was giving a talk at Old Salem. And at the same time, the African-American community there was doing a listening project and gathering stuff about food history and gardening history. And they got all excited about collards. And the unusual thing is that Lorraine is an attorney and had never gardened before this at all. So they took on started out with, I guess, 70 collard plants that they babied through the winter, kept from the deer, ended up having to put wire over it. We could look and see, can you get to the William Alexander heading collard picture? It's covered with wire because they kept getting eaten back by the deer. But the one thing that these nice African-American sorority sisters did is they grew the first regeneration crop of collards for the Heirloom Collard Project, sent some back to Seed Savers Exchange, which then were added to one of the Seed Savers deposits in Svalbard, the first known African-American contribution to that collection. And I thought that was mighty fine. And I'm telling you, it's been that way throughout the project. I do a lot of seed saving, but I never had as much enthusiasm in Black communities as I have from this collard project. And let's look at that last slide. And that shows, there's our friend Michael Twitty, who is a well-known writer and speaker. And as soon as we started on this project, he was supporting us with doing cooking demonstrations at events where the two of us happened to be together and sharing the word about the gospel of collards. yeah, and Seed Savers has been stewarding all of these. Went to the roundup, and there was like the first time they did a big trial, I was floored at how good a job they did, and the size that collards can get in Iowa. I thought we got them big in the South, but they get them bigger. I guess it's wintering over inside or something that does it. I don't know. Okay, so that's how we got started.
Thank you so much,
No.
Ira, for that introduction. That was beautiful. You've really been the impetus of this project. If Ira Wallace wasn't involved with the Heirloom Collard Project, there would be no Collard Project to speak of. So thank you so much. You have just inspired me and so many others in this work. And it's really just been a joy to work with you. So like Ira said, this project started in 2015, and Seed Savers Exchange received about 60 heirloom collard varieties from the USDA. And we started to regenerate these varieties with here at Heritage Farm at Seed Savers and around the country with different partners. And we did a lot of dreaming and scheming with this project. But it took a brief hiatus, and this was due to some staff turnover, and really there's just some difficulty in maintaining momentum in collaborative projects. But at the beginning of 2020, I think collards were kind of back on all of our organizers' brains independently, and we were starting to kind of re-engage with this work again. Ira talked about this project in 2 awesome podcasts at the beginning of 2020. One with True Love Seeds and the other with Joe the Gardener. So if you haven't checked out those podcasts, I would highly, highly recommend them. Chris and Reggie out in the Southeast were working with collard growers to start a variety trial. And I was in the basement in Northeast Iowa, new to this work, reading old reports about this project and just getting really excited about this work. And admittedly, Chris, Melissa, and I were all at the Organic Seed Alliance conference in February of 2020. And we met each other, but we kind of missed an opportunity to connect with each other on this project. But one day I go up to our director of preservation, Phil, and say, I've been reading about the Heirloom Collard Project, and I just feel like it really embodies Seed Savers' mission to connect people with heirloom seeds and plants. Like, do we have the capacity to start working on this project again? And he was like, you know what, Norah, I've been thinking the exact same thing. I have this email drafted to Melissa, and I really think that we should re-engage in this work. So we contacted Chris and Ira and Melissa, and they were ready to start working on this project again. And this is kind of when the pandemic was starting to unfold all over the country. And I think we're all, working in isolation and hungry to connect with each other and share in the rich heritage of these collard varieties. So it was springtime, and we were trying to generate some ideas about how to renew enthusiasm and engagement in this project. And we decided to start a collard variety trial. Okay, you can show the slide now, Jeanine. And so I talked with our partner, Nico at SeedLinked, which is this awesome, innovative online trialing platform. And I pitched this idea to him of this national collard variety trial, and he was really excited about it. And was like, oh yeah, we need like 200 people to participate and we can totally pull this off. And I was like, 200 people? Like, I thought maybe 50 people would be interested. But we started to promote the trial and to our different respective networks. And all these emails just started flooding into my inbox of people all over the country that wanted to participate in this trial and grow some of these heirloom collard varieties. And a lot of these people were new to the Seed Savers community, which was also really exciting. So in the end, we had about 250 people from all over the country sign up to participate. This is a map of the different trial sites around the country. This is also a picture of myself, Catherine, and Sarah Strati packing up seeds, wearing our masks in the middle of the pandemic so we could get the varieties out to the participants. But we had two different models in the trial. We had a triadic model where people were assigned 3 varieties to grow in their gardens and farms, but we also had 8 full trial sites. These people were just really enthusiastic about this project and grew all the varieties in the trial. So I selected 18 heirloom collard varieties to grow in this trial. And there were a combination of seeds that were independently donated to Seed Savers Exchange over the years, and also a selection that had been recently regenerated from the Morgan and Davis project that Ira mentioned. We also included 2 control varieties just to use as comparison in the trial. And we had folks collect data on 9 different traits. So things like yield, germination, flavor, of course, appearance, disease resistance, just to kind of paint a picture of how these varieties performed in their systems. But the goal, aside from the data collection, was really to get seeds into the hands of growers and connect people with plants. So I'm going to let Melissa take it away from here and talk about her experience down in Florida with the collard trial and the project in general.
All right, so I'm with Working Food. It's a nonprofit in Gainesville, Florida, and we are huge cheerleaders of collards and all the awesome people that we got to work with in this project. And I'm going to share a little bit about how we were involved in the project and some of the personal highlights for me. We're probably the only ones growing collards where there was also bananas at the same time, if you notice those in the background. Slide. So we're really lucky to have a great relationship with the University of Florida, and they have a great program called the Field and Fort Campus Food Program that lets students take coursework and learn about sustainable agriculture production practices while actually working on a production scale farm. And a lot of the produce is donated to the food pantry. So this was a really great fit for us to be able to incorporate the Heirloom Collard Project with this program. We were one of the full trial sites to do all 20. So we were able to actually, because of having the student support here, to do like an actual scientific randomized block design to replicate all the different varieties in different places in the field to get a really good look at the project. Slide. So this was us preparing the fields in September. We're a little bit behind everyone usually just because of our climate. We're always the oddballs out. And this is our amazing intern who's a UF student, Michaela, and she really took this project seriously and helped us get some really amazing data and take care of all these plants. Slide. So this farm really got to be an awesome connection point for us to be able to share this project with the community. So you saw all those little red bubbles on that map that Norah had. There was a lot of people in our community doing the triadic variety trial with the 3 different types in their gardens. And so we were able to stay connected with them and to invite them out to this field to see all 20. And we invited a number of chefs and farmers and gardeners in the community to come and see the different varieties and see how cool it was that there was more than one collard variety, give feedback on which ones they liked based on appearance and how it grew or how it tasted. And in the foreground here is one of my favorite chefs that we work with our youth program, Chef Carl Watts from the Underground Kitchen. And his mind was blown coming to this collard patch to see all the diversity. And it was actually funny to see the chefs having little quarrels over which ones they thought were the best. Slide. So just another picture. We hosted a couple field days where we invited the community to come and visit the trials, give their own feedback, take some greens home, and it really helped us get a broader sense of the community's perspective on this, and of course got people excited for biodiversity and all the different things that you can grow. Slide. And we even got famous in the local news. They came out and did a story about the project, and this is me with one of our farm partners. He was not officially part of the trial, but this is Lennon Fisher. He's a 5th generation Black family farm, not too far from Gainesville. And even that level of farming, he had no idea there was more than a couple varieties of collards. So it was really fun to be able to have him out to see all these different collards and also blow another mind in the community for how cool and diverse collards are. Next. So we were really able to share, you know, if there's one thing we've learned, collards are very roasted and weighed, taken to the pantry. Chef Carl came and scooped up collards every week that we offered, and we were able to share them with the community for quite a while. Slide. And COVID had us all kind of doing things a little bit differently this year. So we have a youth program that typically gardens with kids every week throughout the school year, and we cook with them. And, you know, we just couldn't do a lot of that stuff this year. And so we shifted to do online cooking classes with Chef Carl and some of our community partners. And this is Jessie, who runs our youth program, loading up her car with collards pretty much on the regular. And we would send home little kits with the kids every week that they were part of this cooking class, and it included collards. So this class here was barbecue chicken with collard greens and Parmesan potatoes. And it was a lot of fun just to be able to share all these collards with the kids. Slide. So part of the project, besides doing the variety trials, was celebrating collards, getting people excited for the diversity and doing a lot of education and outreach. And so when we were scheming about this project and how to do some of this education piece, I reached out to Lane Selman with the Culinary Breeding Network in the Pacific Northwest. Not exactly collard country, but if any of you have followed Lane, you know that she does some amazing work around celebrating crop diversity in her local area. And she's done some amazing events. And so we partnered up with her and got to chatting, and she was doing a lot of her programming online this year because of COVID. And so she was planning a whole week-long series of 9 different winter vegetable crops that she was going to promote and celebrate. And collards happened to be in that list of the 9, in addition to radicchio and cauliflower, purple sprouting broccoli. There's a number of them. So we started working with Lane to figure out what collard week would look like. And that was really the fun part, I think. The trialing was always fun. As a gardener, I love seeing the crops and how cool they are and eating them and seeing how they grow in our climate, but doing this education and getting this level of engagement that we were able to pull off for Collards Week was so much fun, and we're really grateful for Lane. Slide. So we got Collard Week up and running, got some really cool posters and started promoting it. We had a really great lineup of characters on the next slide that were able to help us really tell the story of collards, from food historians to seed keepers, chefs, farmers, that all have their personal story and connection to collards. And we were able to get them in on Collards Week to do a session during one of our 4-day-long collard love fests. Next slide. And I was really, really glad to be able to rope in John Jackson. He's a farmer up in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is about 4 hours north of where I am in Gainesville. And we had just been communicating through social media and a few phone calls over the past couple of years through some of our shared connections. And I immediately thought of John when this trial came up and Heirloom Collards Week, and called him up and said, hey, do you want to participate? Any chance you want to grow 20 different varieties at Comfort Farms? And he hesitated for no seconds and said, yes, when can you send them? So we had a lot of fun working with John. He has an amazing operation. If you haven't heard of Comfort Farms, you have to look them up. He is a former combat veteran. He has a healing farm where he does a lot of growing of crops and animals and of people. He's helping rehabilitate and offer respite for veterans who are suffering from visible and invisible wounds from war. And he's just an amazing person. He's a real go-getter, and he's super into collards and diversity and seed saving. And so he was a natural partner in this. Next slide. And there's a million amazing things I could tell you about John and Comfort Farms. And one of them is that he really engages the community, and he's amazing at social media, and he tells the stories, and he gets people driving from miles away to come and get a rare bunch of heirloom collards. And he's got chefs living on the farm, which is amazing. So the chefs are always cooking up amazing stuff for different events and things of that nature. So it was really fun to see him connecting with his community and sharing the story far and wide. Next slide. And I was fortunate enough to have some time during Collard Week to actually go up and hang out with John in his collard patch and get to spend some time with him and broadcast live our session from his very cold, unheated greenhouse. I'm from Florida, and it was a cold winter, but it was even colder up there, which interestingly, you know, even though we're only a few hours apart, the appearance and the growth of the collards was really different, which was kind of fun to see. Next slide. And our last slide. So what stood out for me with working with John, you know, he's kind of new to seed keeping, and, you know, he got to really see the diversity of the different varieties, pick out some favorites. This is the Old Timey Blue, which a lot of us liked so much just because she was so beautiful. And he got to see the collards go into full bloom, and we had to have a lot of conversations about how to save collard seeds and how to do a really good job at seed keeping. So it was a really great opportunity for us to connect with John and share the importance and the excitement of seed saving. And I think that's all I've got.
That's my cue. Okay, my name's Chris Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Utopian Seed Project. And we're a fairly new nonprofit that engages in crop trialing and then celebration of food and farming, and trying to bring together a network of people in our region. And we have this one focus area, which is to explore varietal diversity of traditional Southern crops. So we're working with sweet potatoes and okra and Southern peas, and collards was definitely on our list. And in 2020, we were going to do a collard trial, hopefully with this collection, before the whole Heirloom Collard Project got revamped with Norah's leadership. So it was very exciting when the Heirloom Collard Project kicked up again, because it then felt like I had a community in which to participate in this. So yeah, just super exciting to connect all those pieces. If we jump to the next slide, you'll see that we were one of the full trial sites. And so we were able to plant all 20 varieties in the field and also do a replication so that we were able to take some better data on all the collards. And as anytime we plant out a whole bunch of different varieties, it's just incredible to see them all together in the field. And as is becoming pretty obvious from the other people that have already spoken, is just that alone of showing people the diversity that exists in these plant populations is enough to just blow people's minds and get them on board. So that was no different with the collards, and I you know, had high expectations, and they were certainly met just to walk down that line and see them all. I did have some early goat challenges that brought in an extra selection criteria, but the collards rebounded. This is my daughter Emily that helped me actually seed and transplant them all, and it was just a really fun project. The one sad thing was, obviously, it happened in the year of COVID, so usually we had more people coming down to the farm and would be able to share these more widely, and obviously we weren't able to do that quite as much, but we certainly took some photographs. If you jump to the next slide, then this is a photograph that has now been shared pretty widely, and it was actually the very first harvest that we did of all those collards. We're going crazy. Do you want me to speak faster? Is this a hint? So that picture, I had So True Seed, which is a local seed company, come out and help me. Thank you, Jeanine. Help me harvest all the collards, and because I had extra people on hand, then as we were harvesting them, we bunched them up to make them look good, and took photographs and then put them all together to make this poster. And I think one of the reasons this photograph has been popular, and you'll see when we get into some of the media outreach that's been printed in a lot of places now, is simply because at its most basic, what we're doing with the Heirloom Collard Project, at least in my opinion, is we are taking collards as like a Southern concept and growing out that diversity and literally just celebrating that this diversity exists. And I think that's a really powerful part of what we've been able to do with the Heirloom Collard Project. We're all working very hard, and there's trials and data and seed linked, and Norah's going to talk a little bit about some of the results, and all that's really important. But what we've led with is this celebration of collards in a way that I think gets people excited and engaged. And once they're excited and engaged, we can then go, hey, you know, diversity is really important because it increases resilience in agriculture, and we have climate change, and we can talk about all these other serious topics and why preserving this diversity is critical. But if we're celebrating it first, then people are actually listening when we start telling them those things. So I think that's always been important to me, and the Utopian Seed Project and the Heirloom Collard Project has certainly embraced that mentality with this very celebratory nature of what we're doing, and being excited about what we're growing and trying to share that enthusiasm as a group. So if we jump forward, I've just got one specific example here. This is Chef Ashley Shanti, that probably just over a year ago didn't know who I was or who the Utopian Seed Project was, and she didn't know that there were 20 varieties of collards growing just down the road from where she worked at a restaurant in Asheville. And I started turning up at the door and saying, and giving her collards every week and talking to her and telling her what we're doing. And it sounds like I was pestering her, but like from the very first day, she was like, again, engaged in the fact that so many collards exist. And she's a traditional Appalachian chef and has been cooking her whole life in this region. And she was like, I had no idea. And she started coming down to the farm to volunteer. She helped me harvest. She cooked for Collards Week. She gave a cooking demonstration on this beautiful salad, and like has just become very engaged with the work that we're doing, and actually ended up joining the board of the Utopian Seed Project. So back to that very powerful piece that I think anybody or any group of people can replicate just by growing these out and celebrating them. We can really get a high level of engagement than perhaps we've had by leading with like education first. I think celebration first, education second is an awesome model for these types of community projects. Okay, so if we jump forward, I'm just going to spend a short amount of time sharing some of how we've taken those collards that we've grown and put them into social and online engagement, and then some more national media outreach that we managed to achieve. Again, remembering in the back of your head, at its most basic, all we did was grow 20 varieties of collards, and we've managed to generate all this excitement. So this is just a pretty rapid overview of some of that work. So we can jump forward. So we wanted to start with like a holding pattern. So this is just a very basic website that you can go and see the collards. You can get involved. If you email, you end up speaking to Norah. We've got the videos archived from Collard Week. So it's just a nice place to archive everything in a very basic way. We felt it was important, considering that we were 4 separate organizations in different parts of the country, to have this kind of container to put all our energy into. And if we jump forward, that was heirloomcollards.org. Sorry, if you want to check it out. And then obviously social media is kind of critical in this day and age, but we decided to go straight into having a group. So we've got the Heirloom Collard Project group that anybody can go and join. And this speaks to the idea that we really wanted to have a collaborative, engaging project, and it wasn't just us speaking to everyone else. We wanted everyone else to speak back to us and feed into this wonderful thing. So it's exciting to see that it's got almost a life of its own. People ask questions and post pictures, and other people that are not us will answer them. And I think that level of two-way engagement is really critical. And if we jump forward. Instagram, I'm more of an Instagram person than a Facebook person. We can argue about that later. But this page is like less than a year old, and we've had a lot of people following us now, and we hope that continues to grow. It's just a real fun photo journal of some of our work and a way to kind of try and get people through the hashtag system to share what they're doing in their own farms. So if you jump forward, you can see that we just decided to have Collards 2020, which is super easy for people to use, and start building up all these other people that were growing collards could share back into the network. We had a lot of people tagging us, and so a lot of our page was resharing other people's content. Again, we didn't want it to be about us for organizations doing this thing. We wanted it to be in the other direction and getting collards celebrated by everybody and feeding into this system. And if we jump forward.
Chris, I don't know if you can hear me, but I think your video is frozen here.
Am I back?
You're back now, yes. I think at the start of this slide is when we lost you.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm back. For the Instagram that we were talking about, this was just the most popular post. And again, it's not surprising that the thing that was most popular was us just, again, celebrating this varietal diversity that exists. We can jump forward. And then the last social media outreach wasn't actually our own. It was fun to collaborate with the Culinary Breeding Network that has a lot of presence in this kind of like food advocacy, seed breeding type stuff. And so they filmed and hosted all the videos from Heirloom Collard Week, which was really awesome. And you can go and see them there, or they're now archived on our website. So another way just to get ourselves out there. And then if we jump forward. This next section, I'm just going to like do a whistle stop tour through some of it, but I wanted to show you that from a single press release that went out and again just said, you know, we're growing all these collards, we've got this collard week going, we've managed to pick up a lot of media attention. And you know, it's not like we discovered a seed in the belly of a whale in the bottom of the ocean and we regenerated after 1,000 years. We were, you know, it was nothing that rocket sciencey. It was just this celebration of collards, and you'll see where it got us. And again, I think this is very replicable by anybody else that wants to do a community project like this. So if we just jump forward through these, I'll quickly talk through them. So Modern Farmer is a good one. You'll start seeing this picture cropping up. Everyone wanted to print that celebratory picture. We can jump forward. This is a fun one because one of our full trial sites, Melanie Edwards, ended up writing an article for her regional media outlet. So again, it wasn't all us. We kind of were becoming decentralized as we got bigger, and she's been really involved and engaged, and it's been awesome to get to know her a little bit better. We can jump forward. This is one of my favorite articles written by Deb Freeman. I think she really captures the heart of the program or the project. We can jump forward. And then Food Tank picked us up after seeing the College Week. They watched the whole College Week and then wrote about it. That was fun. We can jump forward. We picked up some radio attention. This is actually a chef from the Southwest interviewed us for a radio show. And then you can jump forward. We also got on Margaret Roach's podcast, and I was hoping that would get us into the New York Times because she also writes a gardening column, but we didn't quite make it this time around. Ira is obviously a talented writer and got some of her own press for the project and has actually done that for many years before Collards 2020. We can jump forward. This is just some local press. You know, Ashley's pretty well known as a chef around here. We can jump forward. I put this one in here because it was fun to see that we had some of the culinary people and the chefs and the food writers getting involved, but this is actually an agricultural organization wanted to write about the work that we're doing and share it with their farmers. So it's definitely a broad reaching project. We can jump forward. And then this is the last one, although there's more out there if you start Googling around, but this is Seed Savers Exchange's farm companion, and they were able to do this lovely article that spotlighted back to John Jackson of Comfort Farms. So just, you know, a whole range of seed, food, and farming attention that has been shown on this project from just growing all these varieties. So I'm going to leave it there, and I think pass it back to Norah to speak a little bit about some of the trial results.
All right, thank you, Chris. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and even though I'm a millennial, I struggle with technology. So hold on.
No, Nora, did we have a segment from Ira first?
Oh yeah, Ira, do you want to go first and then I'll go?
Okay, yeah, somebody let me in and they can see my face. I got dropped from the meeting. The joys of rural internet. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to share is how amazingly attractive to African American communities the Collard Project has been. We've started this new, seed keeping initiative, Ujama, and it has really reached out. I mean, we have literally, met dozens of Black seed keepers and would-be seed keepers, and I see, Seed Savers Exchange, by taking a leadership role in this project, has people from an area where I've been a member a long time trying to reach out to people, and just seeing them say, oh, I want to know more about them if they have all that. And so I think important to, when we're reaching out through the diversity that is the American gardening and farming community, to take to heart our teachings that it's a story, the connection to a time and a place that really makes varieties be able to be reborn and persist. And these collards have done it. And I totally agree with Chris that celebrating it and then talking about the more technical details is definitely the way to go. People love to look at and taste wonderful food. And the fact that it also is healthy is good too. So that's it. Could you hear me?
That was beautiful, Ira. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just real quickly here show you guys some results from the trial, or just kind of what that looks like on the Seed Linked platform. So this again is a graph of all the trial sites. The size of the bubble kind of indicates how much data we received from that location. So we actually had 4 trial sites out in the Pacific Northwest. That's why you see those larger bubbles, and also down where Melissa was in Florida. But I'm just going to give you a little taste of these results, because the real goal of this trial was to connect growers with seeds and create this new dialogue about growing and cooking with these varieties. And we just ended up collecting some preliminary data, but I think that that connection to the seeds and their stories and just re-engaging people with this project was the overall goal of this trial. So as Seed Savers, we just posted a blog that kind of discusses some of those results. So if you're interested in data, you can check that out. And there's actually a link, this exact link to the results, so you can manipulate the data yourself and kind of find your own conclusions. But I just wanted to quickly demonstrate what that looks like. So I'm showing a graph of all the triadic results. So the participants that just got 3 randomly selected varieties. And I'm just going to show one trait to look at in isolation. and that's yield. And I mentioned before, sorry, this is a little slow. We included these two control varieties, and we were just kind of interested to see how these varieties would compare to the heirlooms. So the control varieties are Georgia Southern and Vates, and these are tried and true varieties. These are industry standards, things that have been around for a long time. So when you're looking at a trait like yield, one might expect that people would prefer or see that these control varieties would be really productive. But in some cases, we see that folks actually preferred some of these heirloom varieties to the control varieties. Georgia Southern ranks number 8, and Vates is actually at the back of the pack down to the right here. So it's just kind of interesting to see that some of these heirloom varieties are super productive and actually maybe more productive than some industry standards. So that's just one little snippet for you. You can check this out on the Seed Savers blog. But we really encourage you to explore these results from yourself. And better yet, all of these collard varieties are available on our seed exchange or in the Seed Savers catalog. So you can request these varieties and do your own trial and grow them yourself. I think one beautiful way to celebrate these varieties is to grow them in your own garden. So I encourage you to do some exploration in that way. So now I'm going to turn it over to Chris to tell us about what we're up to in the future.
Okay, I'm gonna make this pretty quick, and you should definitely follow us on the Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff so that you can keep an eye on what we are up to, and then we can move into questions and still have some time for that good stuff. So basically at the moment we are meeting monthly to kind of discuss the ongoing work. One of the key things that's already happening is we decided that these varieties, it was good to have lots of people grow them out, but we needed to increase seed quantity of them. We've recruited, actually this year's 15 seed stewards that are taking on a variety to grow out on a bigger scale and hopefully feed back some of them into the exchange, but also be a steward of those varieties going forward. So Norah's been coordinating that, which is really exciting. Melissa and I have been heading up a grant for a collard zine, which will be, a printed kind of journal-esque celebration of collards with lots of different writers and voices and art and stuff. And that's going to be really exciting. We've got, James Beard Award winning Dr. Cynthia Greenlee is going to edit that. And that's going to be a really awesome project going forward. And then some of the more visionary stuff that's probably going to happen maybe towards the end of this year into next year is one to have a vision meeting where we can actually bring all of us together. Since this project has begun, we haven't been in the same room or even the same state. So we're going to try and get everyone together to talk about next steps and growth and everything for this project. And then a kind of a dream project that we think we're going to be able to pull off probably next year is to actually retrace some of the original route of Edward Davis, who did the original seed collection for a lot of these varieties, retrace them and see if hopefully some of those seed savers are still alive and we can record some of the histories and interview those people and put together a real nice mini documentary on some of this heritage seed saving work that happens and sometimes isn't profiled or known about. So plenty of exciting stuff. And like I say, just make sure you follow the website or the social media and you'll get to stay in touch with all that.
Great, thank you so much. This has been so inspiring. I am going to pull this up here to see the questions coming through. I can't wait to keep following along and seeing what happens next with this project. I love the idea of celebration first and education second. And in that vein, I am going to ask 3 celebratory questions for you. The first question, there's some talk here about these great collared earrings that Norah and Melissa are wearing. Where are they from?
Oh, I could. So I would accredit these earrings to Lane Selman because she has connections in so many different places. And when Collard Week started cooking, she contacted some friends that run this company called Plant Posse in Portland, Oregon, and they make beautiful vegetable jewelry. And she requested them to make some collared earrings and necklaces. So that kind of came out of Collard Week, and Melissa and I, being collard nerds, jumped on that opportunity. So
That's so fun.
She did the long hyperlink to these specific earrings in the chat.
Check them out. We also had a question about that beautiful image that Chris, that you shared with those, like the grid of all of the different kinds of collards. And the question is whether you're planning on making that into a poster that people could purchase.
Yeah, I actually put a link in the chat when I saw that. So we put it into, yeah, we put it into a poster, and you can follow that link and grab a copy.
Great. Well, I have one final question that I'd like to ask each of you. I would love to hear what your favorite part has been about this project. I can call you out in order I see you. We'll start with Chris.
I'm happy to go first. So there's so many fun things that happened, but the very last session of Collards Week, we did a collard happy hour. And within that happy hour, we just invited, like, I forget how many people turned up, but it was between 10 and 15 collard enthusiasts turned up, and we invited them to bring collard related cocktails. And we had these delicious alcoholic collard infused drinks, and we talked about collards for an hour, and it was just a lot of fun. And that, I think, was really the heart of what we're trying to do in terms of having this celebration of collards and sharing that enthusiasm and getting everyone else excited about this work. And yeah, it was just so much fun. And the collard cocktail was, well, at least my collard cocktail was absolutely delicious. I think other people had mixed results.
That's great.
I'll pass it to Norah if she's next to me.
yeah, I can go. I guess similar, I'll piggyback on Chris with that. I think the people behind this project is really what just makes this the favorite part of my job. Just the relationships that I've built with Chris and Ira and Melissa just inspire me every day to do this seed preservation work. And the folks I've talked to all around the country who are seed stewards of these heirloom varieties, it's just so inspiring to talk to these folks that are just so passionate and enthusiastic about this crop. I mean, you just don't get that about celery, you know, but people just have a lot of, feelings about collards. And I think it's because there's this rich cultural history and heritage to this crop. And it's so inspirational and unique and just a joy and a pleasure to work with. So I think the people behind the seeds and the varieties is really what makes it for me.
Great.
I can go next. Yeah, there was a lot. I think for me, it's especially because we were in the middle of a pandemic when all this was going down, and it was just such a crazy time for all of us. And as an organization, we were really struggling, and we made it through, I think, pretty well on the other side, all things considered. But this was sort of like a little silver lining, a big silver lining, I think, being able to pull off something so amazing in the middle of a pandemic where we could still be in the gardens and have people come out to safely hang out in the collard patch and get really excited about seeing different collards, and to be able to share all that abundance with the community in a time when so many people were food insecure, including a lot of the kids that we were working with, to be able to share all that abundance and just get people so excited that we're just coming out of the woodwork to get excited about collards, those who were already excited about collards and those who had no idea you could get so excited about collards. So it was just such a good gathering tool, I guess, during a really challenging time. And it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. And collard cocktails are not my jam. I think collards just stay in the pot. They stay in the salad. They don't go in drinks or dessert. That's my opinion.
And how about you, Ira?
Well, I think that recipes were really one of the fun things. You know, I like these garlicky Brazilian collards, and I got lots of people telling me all their quick cook collard treats. And since, you know, for many people, it's an opportunity to have something that's quick, easy, cheap, and good tasting and healthy all at the same time, because sometimes healthy and tasty are not so closely related. So that was something fun that I want to bring to looking at some other vegetables. And, you know, having people come up to me and say, I saw you talking about collards on TV is really fun.
That's so great. Thank you all. This has just been a pleasure. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And thanks to the panelists. This has been lovely. I invite you all to follow along. There are a lot of different links here listed in the chat, so check them all out and keep watching to see what this project does in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.